Hey there, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Brenda and it is so nice to meet you. I would really appreciate it if you could go ahead and subscribe to the channel down below. If you're not new here, thank you so much for returning back to the channel. I really appreciate seeing you here once again. For today's video, I'm very excited because I am going to be talking about money. So if you like money, make sure that you go ahead and give this video a big thumbs up. This video was actually requested by one of my subscribers, so I thought I would do it just because I did mention it that I would do a video like this. So I'm doing it now and I'm very excited because I am really good with my money. So I thought I would share some tips on how I was able to save a very big amount of money in my teenage years. And even to this day, I'm really good at saving. So I just thought I would share some of my knowledge with you or some tips that I did personally that helped me. So if you're interested, then just go ahead and keep on watching. Okay, so I have my notes down here. So if I look down, that is why. But first, I want to go ahead and start off with my biggest tip, which is number one, have a goal. So I started working when I was 16 and my goal even at that time was I need to save a lot of money to put a down payment on a house. So that was always like a really big dream for me, a very big goal that I was very ambitious and very determined to reach that goal. So that is step number one. Find a goal that is going to make you determined and motivated to reach your saving goals. You know, it could be buying a car, going on a trip, you know, even buying like a bag or like something luxurious that you want that is going to motivate you, because once you have a goal in mind, like let's say a car, like the car I want is $30,000. Once you have that money as a goal, you start to see like, okay, how can I make this happen? And you start to create a plan for yourself. So that is step number one, have a goal and write it down. Write down the amount of money you need to make your goal come true. All right, so for tip number two, it would be just to calculate the amount of money you make in a month or within your time paid period, if that makes sense. I know some jobs pay you every 2 weeks or every month. So for me, it's every 2 weeks. So every 2 weeks, I kind of have an estimated amount of how much money I make every 2 weeks, but always round down. So let's say, for example, every 2 weeks, I make $2,374 or something like that. I would round that down to 2,300 flat. And that is the number I would use to further budget everything down to. So yes, tip number two is please make sure that you calculate the amount of money you make every month or every 2 weeks and round it down. Okay. Tip number three kind of correlates to this as well, but it's basically just to calculate your expenses. But when you're calculating your expenses, make sure that you round up. So for example, let's say I have a car payment that's like, I don't know, $750. I would round that up to $800. I have gas. I would estimate a month I pay like maybe $200 in gas. So I would always be like, maybe this month I'll use $250 worth of gas. So I'm always rounding up. Let's say that you have to pay, what else? A cell phone bill. Let's say your cell phone bill is like 87, round that up to like maybe 90. You know, you always want to round up your expenses because you never know if for any given month you're going to need more money to support your expenses, if that makes any sense. So for me, it was always important to round down the money you make every month or so and then round up your expenses, because that way, the money that you have left over after calculating and budgeting everything, that money represents a number that obviously you have left over, right? But that number is not exactly a very concrete number. And if anything, in reality, you have more than that number because you did round up your expenses. So the money that you have left over, you count on for as a fact. Like let's say after all of my money has been budgeted and calculated, I have $350 left over for the month. In reality, I might have like $450 because I did round up all the expenses. So $350 is an exact number. I can say, yes, I will have $350 at the end of the month, but not really. I will have more because I did round up my expenses. So that is tip number three. I hope this is making sense so far, by the way. If you need any more clarification, let me know down below and I will try to answer it for you. But this is just something that has helped me. So I hope it's making sense to you because, I do want to be helpful for you. Okay, moving on. Tip number four would be to treat your savings account like a game. And what I mean by game, I'm not trying to say, oh, money is a game, you know, toss it everywhere. Like, no, that is not what I'm trying to say. But what I mean by a game is what I do personally is I try to see how much money I can save and I treat it as a game in a sense that I'm like, okay, every 100 is like a level up, you know, like I'm doing good. I don't know how to explain it. It's just kind of like you have to be motivated to see that number in the savings account go up. And yeah, kind of treat it like a game, because, you know, every $100 that you put in there is kind of like a level up, you know, your savings account is rising, and it just makes you feel good about reaching your goals. So yeah, I would say just treat it like a game, treat it like something that is motivating you to, you know, reach your goal. And tip number 5 would be have a time limit. And what I mean by this is, like, let's say after you've budgeted everything, and let's say that you have made up your mind that you're gonna save $500 a month, right? So for me, let's say I would be like, okay, to reach my goal, so to reach my goal, I'm going to put 500 in my savings every month. So if you set yourself on a number, that means that like in 3 months, I should have 1,500 in my savings, right? So that's what I mean by time limit. So in 3 months from now, I should see the number 1,500 in my savings. Now, I know sometimes it's really hard to stick to a certain number. So I would just say, like, no matter what happens in between those 3 months, just make sure that that number is at 1,500 in your savings, because you have already budgeted and calculated it previously. And if you want like a step-by-step of how I do budget and do my expenses, I will do that. It just takes a long time to like sit here and write it down, and I probably would need a whiteboard, but if you're interested, let me know. This is just kind of like a quick rundown of what I do and how I do it. But yeah, so just make sure that you have a time limit. For me, my goal, like, I don't really have a time limit. I just like to keep adding to it. But like, let's say you want a car and you need $10,000 for a car, and you're like, okay, I'm gonna save 500 every month. By 3 months from now, you should have 1,500, you know, another 3 months, another 1,500. So you have to make sure that you have time limits. So let's say like by the end of the month, I have to have 500 in my savings, right? Because I said every month I would save 500, kind of like that. Just keep yourself held accountable for, and that should help speed along the process of you reaching your goals. Okay, for number 6, it is to reward yourself once you do reach these goals. So like I said previously, treat it like a game, you know, once I get 1,500, reward yourself, you know, buy yourself an ice cream, buy yourself something that you want, you know. And for my personal experience, like for this channel, I buy myself perfumes. That's how I reward myself. So you have to have something that keeps you, you know, engaged in saving and motivated. So once you do reach your saving goals, make sure that you reward yourself and make sure that you treat yourself, you know, because this money is yours ultimately. So you do have to treat yourself, but don't overdo it. Okay, don't overdo it. Tip number 7 also goes along with this being like something for you, and it is to set money aside for yourself every month. So again, I can go into detail on how I budget and everything, but let's just say that after you calculated everything, you only have $100 left aside for yourself. So that means that that money is what you can spend for yourself in a month. You cannot go over that number, okay? Like, you cannot go over it. If you have said that you can only afford to spend $100 on yourself, that's all you get, okay? Do not go over, do not take out of your savings. And if you want something, let's say you want a bag that's worth $500, but you only have $100, wait, do not spend money on yourself for that month at all, you know? Do not spend money on yourself. Wait till the next month, add another 100. Now you have 200. Wait the next month, add another 100. You have 300. And I know it takes a lot of self-control, but honestly, like, once you reach your saving goals, it's so worth it. And yeah, sometimes you do have to sacrifice, you know, not buying stuff for yourself. But if that's what it takes, then that's just what it takes if you really want to reach your goal in a certain time frame or time limit. Okay, moving on to tip number 8, it is to never, and I mean never, take money out of your savings once it's in there. And I know that there's sometimes where there's an emergency and you just need to take out the money. That would be okay, like if it's really an emergency and for some reason like someone ends up in the hospital and you really need the money. That is something you can't control, and honestly, like, you just have to, like, you know, take out the money and help yourself. But if it's like everything's going fine in your life and you just want to take the money out because you want to buy something and you just feel like you need it, don't do it, because it just defeats the purpose of you saving, you know. And you can buy stuff that you want if you stick to, you know, the money that you have for yourself. Like I was saying before previously, if you have $100 for yourself a month, just keep adding to it until you have enough to buy what you want, you know. Do not take out of your savings ever. But, you know, I have done this a couple of times. I'm not gonna lie, like I want something and I buy it from my savings. But if you do this, make sure that like with your next paycheck, you will have enough money to put the money back into your savings. And on top of that, always add more to the savings account. So for example, let's say I have like $1 in my checking account and I want to buy something that's $500. Okay, so I take the money out of my savings, but tomorrow I'm getting paid like my $2,000 I had said, right? So I'm going to take the 500 that I spent from my savings. I'm going to put it back into my savings. Plus I'm going to add another $200 because that's just how I make my savings account grow. And it's kind of like, I don't know if it's like kind of, your punishment for taking it out of the savings, but that's how I see it. Like I'm kind of not punishing myself, but I'm kind of like paying myself back in interest, you know, like a credit card would. That's what I do kind of with my savings, and I don't know, it just worked for me. So that is one of the tips. Again, I hope that makes sense. And also going along with that, if you absolutely have to, okay, no, what was I gonna say? Now I'm like getting sidetracked. Okay, going along with the savings account, sometimes it's really hard to keep adding to your savings account. I know a lot of things come up. So honestly, the best thing you can do is just leave your savings just as it is. Like you don't have to add every month if you can't, you know, but also don't take away from the savings. If you know that for the next 3 months, I'm not going to be able to add those $500 to reach my goal, then it's fine. You know, life happens and stuff, but just leave the money that you have in there, you know, just leave it there. It's locked. Forget about it. It does not exist. Okay. It's just there. And then when you can start adding, you know, just keep adding to it, but never ever take it away. You know, just pretend it doesn't even exist in your life. And you will see that you will be able to add and save a lot of money like that. Okay, moving on to tip number 9. This tip actually really surprised me and it has helped me save so much money. And basically it is all about saving money that you would have spent otherwise. So let me explain. Let's say that on Friday, I'm going out with a bunch of girlfriends, right? We're planning to go eat sushi. We're planning to go to the movies. We're planning to go do a little bit of shopping. Let's say I have said to myself, I'm only going to spend $100 on Friday because, you know, that's my budget and I want to stick to that. Okay. So I'm going into Friday thinking I'm going to spend $100 and it's already accounted for. I know I have the money to spend it on my friends and like having a good time, right? So let's say it's Friday already and your friends cancel on you. So now you're not going out and you have the $100 in your checking account still. But what I would do is still transfer the $100 into your savings. Like, I know you didn't go out, I know you didn't spend it, but you were going to spend it. You know, you knew that like it was okay to spend that money. So just pretend like you did go out and take the $100 and put it into your savings, because either way, it was money that you were going to spend, you know? Same thing, like this would happen to me a lot. Actually, I would be at home and I would be like, oh, you know what sounds so good right now? Some Jack in the Box. And I know I spend at least $20 at Jack in the Box every time I go, but then for whatever reason, I was so lazy to get up and drive myself to Jack in the Box, so I wouldn't end up going. But I knew in my mind that it was okay for me to spend those $20 on Jack in the Box. So instead of, you know, just leaving them in my checking for something else, I would just pretend that I purchased the Jack in the Box and put the $20 into my savings. And yeah, just do that with a lot of little things and you will see your savings account start to go up. Because when you think about it, we spend a lot of money on a lot of useless things like food. So if you just keep pretending that you're actually buying this food and just put the money into your savings, you will save a lot of money like that, I promise you. And yeah, that is tip number 9. Okay, moving on to the last tip, which is tip number 10. And this is not really a tip, but it's more of like a do not do this type of advice. And it is like, if you have a credit card, never spend more money on your credit card than what you have on your checking account, if that makes sense. So for me, when I buy something on my credit card, I know that I have money in my checkings for it. And honestly, I pass it, like I transfer it immediately after I purchase something on the credit card. That's just how I am. I don't know. It just bothers me to see like a big number in my credit. Like, I have the app, so it shows me like how much money is on my credit card that I owe. And I always like to see that number at 0. I never owe anything. I never like to owe anything. Even if I buy something that's $2, I will transfer the money immediately because I don't like to see it be at any number, you know? So that would be my number 1 tip for credit cards. Never ever owe money. And as soon as you buy something, transfer it over. And also I would definitely recommend you get those cashback credit cards, because you do get cash back at the end of every like month, and that cash back can immediately go to your savings and, you know, help you save more money, and you didn't even have to do anything. You just had to buy stuff that you were already going to buy anyways. So yeah, that is my last tip, number 10. And overall, it's very important just to see your savings account as you doing something good for yourself. You know, it's money that you're paying towards yourself. You're investing it in yourself, and it's money that you will eventually get to use later on, just not at the moment that you're saving for it. But it's basically like paying yourself for your hard work. You know, when you get a paycheck and you spend it all on clothes and stuff, you never really get to see the money. So you have to view it as like, you know what, I'm paying myself like $500 a month because I deserve it, you know? Like, you have to see it as like treating yourself, even though like for a lot of people, savings account is kind of like a freaking prison cell for their money, because it's like, I'm putting my money in there and now I'm never gonna get to see it again. And it kind of can be a little bit hard for people to save, because they do have that mentality of like, I have to save the money, like what a drag, you know, like I'm never gonna see the money, like I have to. It's kind of like a punishment. But no, you have to see it as a positive thing, something that you're doing for yourself, something that you're investing in for yourself to reach your goals. And yeah, those were some of my tips on how I've saved a very large amount of money in my 20s. Obviously, there's a lot of things that have helped, like living at home. So if you live at home and you're a teenager, please take advantage of that and save as much money as you can. Because once you like go out there on your own, you have to pay rent, and that is a lot of money. And so you have to set yourself up for the future. So I would definitely take advantage of the time that you do have with your parents. Now, if you don't live with your parents anymore, like, these tips can still apply to you, but obviously it just depends on how much like money you make and your expenses. And again, if you do want a video on like everything calculated, like step by step on how I do it personally, how I view my check and everything, go ahead and let me know, and I will definitely do that video for you. But this was just, again, something very quick to help you understand like some tips that I have done that have helped me a lot. So I really hope you enjoyed this video and found any of these tips useful. I really hope that you were able to understand this information. And if you have any questions, make sure that you leave them down below. Or if you have any other tips for me that would be helpful, please make sure that you leave it down below. And yeah, I will see you next Saturday at 12 p.m. with a new video. Bye.